What's up, guys? Chef Dave back with another cooking video. So again, we are focusing on entertainment right now. Entertaining, not entertainment. I'm the entertainment, I guess. But today we're going to talk about potato latkes. We are in the middle of the Jewish holidays. Hanukkah is right, we're on the third or fourth day right now. Obviously latkes being hugely popular. So I'm going to show you my version. I don't know if they're overly traditional, but I think they are pretty close to traditional. I've done them for a lot of people, and I won't claim that they're the best in the world. That's not my job. But they are pretty darn good. The thing about latkes is in my opinion, there's no real hack to them, right? You just got to do the work. And most things that take work are good. So if you put in a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, follow these steps, I think you're going to end up with some absolutely amazing latkes. So let's do it. So these are the basic ingredients that we're going to be using. We got 2 pounds of Idaho potatoes. We have a little lemon, just a squeeze of lemon to put in the water. We've got 1 sweet onion. Might not use this whole thing. It's a little bit big, but we'll see. Maybe we'll use most of it. And then some, I like the lightly salted matzah, personally, if I'm using whole matzah. But matzah meal obviously works. Stores are totally out of matzah meal for obvious reasons right now. So we're just going to crush our own matzah, kind of make our own matzah meal. So the first thing we're going to do is make a little space. We've got bowl, water in it. We're going to acidulate this water. We don't need a lot, we just need a little bit piece of lemon, nothing crazy. This will help the potato from turning brown. I personally feel that the browning affects the coloring a little bit, so I personally like to acidulate the water I use. Then we take our potato, we got our microplane, but our box grater made by Microplane. She's got some miles on her, so so we're just going to start grating. So once we have them in this stage, it's time to squeeze out the water. Now we've got it sitting in the acidulated water. This washes some of the starches off and we'll allow the starches to fall down, and we'll use those starches. So what I like to do is I like to squeeze these out and then drop it on top of a kitchen towel and then squeeze them again, because you want the potato as dry as possible for optimal potato-ness and crispness. So simply, we're going to take these by the handful. You don't want to make too big handfuls, because then you won't be able to squeeze them out properly. But give them a nice squeeze, nice tight squeeze. So now we're going to let this water sit, okay? You can see it has that kind of brownish color to it. That's been all washed off the potato. The starches are floating in the water right now, so we want to let this sit for about 5 minutes to let those starches sink down, and then we'll drain it off and leave the starch behind, okay? In the meantime, we've got our potato here, okay? And we're just going to fold this up, fold this up, fold this up. Okay. Just to kind of form that pocket, just like that. We'll form a little pocket, and we're just going to turn it. Okay, and a lot of this water will get squeezed, absorbed by the towel. But some of it won't, obviously. And that's why you want to have the plate underneath. But there isn't a ton, and I'm squeezing hard here. And you don't want to I've seen that, like the tourniquet method, where like you put a spoon here and then twist down on the spoon. I don't know why, I'm just not a big fan. If it works for you, great, then you can do that. But I just like to squeeze. And what I like to do, just move this to the side, afterwards, is open it. Okay, open it. And you see what you got here. It's really dehydrated or squeezed out potato. But to really ensure it, what I like to do is I like to open it up, take this middle, and kind of stir it towards the end. And then that will give it another squeeze, and then that will kind of really ensure that our potatoes are as dry as possible. Then give it another squeeze. Wonderful. I mean, almost nothing coming out. So we got literally almost no drops coming out. So we're good here. Okay, we're good. Perfect. You can do this in a food processor if you weren't able to get matzo meal. I don't need it to be overly fine and crushed. So if you do have to buy full matzos, what I like to do is I just take a bowl, and I have a little pestle, and I just kind of crush them down a little bit. And even with your hand, just give them a little bit, just squeeze. That's it. And that's all you need. I mean, it's ground up enough for my purposes, so that's all you really need. So now, our potato water has been sitting for about 5 minutes or so. So we're gonna drain this off. We'll probably have to do this in stages to work. So we just take a bowl, and then if you can see that behind, you see that? You want that at the bottom there. You see that? That's the potato starch. And you really want that to be left behind. So that's why you want to let it sit for a little bit. Beautiful. Now don't worry if you lose some of it, because that's what the matzo meal is for. But especially that wispy, floaty stuff that we got like right there. Okay? But that is really what you want left behind. Okay? So don't worry about it. You got a little bit of extra moisture in there. Don't worry about it. Again, that's what the matzo is for. Okay, so now to this, we got our onion. Okay, so we're gonna grate our onion. We'll probably end up using about half this onion, I think. This is a pretty big onion. So, about half of it. It's gonna be about half a cup of grated onion. If you get these tails, you can just rip them off. About half that, maybe just a hair over the half, but it's about half. I'm gonna make sure we get all the goodness. Shake it down. So that's about a solid half a cup of grated onion. To this, we're gonna add 2 eggs. One and 2. Obviously making sure you don't get any shell in there. Now, at this point, you want your egg to be incorporated well, so I like to give this onion egg mixture a nice kind of beaten before you add the rest of your ingredients. Okay? Just like that. Perfect. So basically, you gotta think of this as like you're doing everything to like form a binder, essentially. Eggs, although wet, they're a binder, right? The starch from the potato is a binder. So all these things are meant to help bind it all together so that it's not overly wet and not overly dry either. Because your end result, you want a nice crispy on the outside, creamy in the middle. We're going to add our potato. Okay, just gonna take it right out of the shell. The towel. It forms sort of a shell. Okay. Beautiful. To this, we're going to add our matzo meal. Now, we don't want to add too much matzo meal because, again, we don't want to dry it out, but we don't want to add too little or else so that stays too wet, okay? A lot of people say, oh, why not flour? Just use flour. Latke only takes so long to cook, right? And flour takes longer to actually cook out than the latke takes to cook. So what you'll end up having in the end, in my opinion, is kind of like a raw flour flavor, which I hate. I don't really like that. It's like an uncooked roux almost. So really using something like matzo, which would be traditional, or even just breadcrumbs, works out better because the flour's cooked already. So you end up getting something that's super absorbent, but not necessarily raw. And then I'm a hands-on guy, so we're gonna stir this with our hands. Okay, and then we're gonna season it up. So you probably put about tablespoon and a half of salt in here. And then we're gonna add pepper. I like pepper, so nice several good cracks. And then since I washed my hands already, just give it one last fork. Perfect. And now you don't want this to sit too long before you start cooking, but you know, it can sit just a little bit, but you don't want it to sit too long because the salt will start to break down the potato and draw even more moisture out. So, which again, that's where your matzo is there for, and so that matzo will soak up that extra liquid that starts to leach out. So you want to let it sit for a couple minutes, but not too long. So now we move on to frying. And so since we're doing sort of like a shallow fry of sorts, there's a lot of like talk about what you should use, what you shouldn't use when it comes to flavor and all the nuances that are, latkes. A lot of people think that, just using good canola oil or some kind of nice, easy frying oil is the move. Some people think that you should use just chicken fat or schmaltz. I believe that using a combination of both is probably the best move. Now, you can get schmaltz from, if you have a good relationship with your butcher. If you're making stocks at home, like I often do, that's where I get most of mine. So I don't want to tilt this too forward, but this is a chicken stock, just simple, simmered, a little bit of vegetable, nothing crazy. We like to have it in house, even just to use now and then. But this cap that forms on top is, as you guessed it, the chicken fat. And I always save that and use that for cooking later on, and this is the perfect application for this. So what we like to do is, hopefully it's semi-firm, so this was done yesterday, and then we'll take that cap off. Okay, beautiful, nice. Okay. Now, if you have like a really thick stock, now this has a decent amount of gelatin in it, but sometimes you get them like where it's, if you're, depending on what you're using in your stock, if you're using, say, like, chicken backs or chicken feet or something like that, then you can end up with really thick stock, and that will make this separation like way easier. You've got your chicken fat right there. Now, you will have to kind of be careful using it, obviously, because there is a little bit of moisture. So once we heat this up, it'll, it might have some pops, some snap, crackle, pop to it. Just be careful is the best thing I can say. And then to this, we add just regular oil, canola oil. Perfect. Now if we will have to add a little more than that later, we will, but that should get us through. All right, now let's heat it up. So if you do have a little bit of liquid in there like we do, you know, it's good to heat it up slowly at first. Then you just put a cover on it just to catch any kind of serious splashing that might happen. And then from there you just wait it out. Okay, so we stop splashing or popping. So we remove the lid. I recommend everyone get one of these guys, little laser thermometers. They're great. So we're sitting at about 375, 380. That's right where we want to be. We don't want to go hit 400. It's a little too hot, but you want to be between 350 and 375. It's always okay to start a little high at first because once you put the product in, it's going to drop that heat down quite a bit. So it's okay to start at about 375. We'll adjust the heat here just to maintain that temperature. I'm using third cup. You use a quarter cup. You use a half cup. It depends on how big you want your latkes. So I like them big, but not like, you know, gigantic. So we do nice third cup size. Kind of press them down a little bit and then drop them. I like to do them all first. So I'll probably do about 4 in here. You want to stir the potato mix too, you know, just to make sure you're getting everything from the top and bottom, you know. Perfect. Okay, we got our fourth one. Then I just, with the fork, kind of take them, smash them down a little bit. Perfect. Just like that. Okay? Now if your heat's too hot, they're going to get too dark too fast. If your heat's too low, they're going to soak up too much oil. So that's why I think starting off at like 375 is a good place to be. Yeah, we're already dropped down to 250. So, which is fine, because it'll recover, but then we'll just bring our heat up just a little bit, okay? So the recovery time ends up a little faster. So while they're frying, I like to set up my landing station. So I just, you know, regular plate. I have a round rack. You know, it's nice to use for things like this. Just put a little paper towel underneath, and then I just put it behind there in the back just to keep, once we, you know, finish the first round, we can kind of keep them warm in the back here, you know, because there's heat kind of emanating from around. So just leave it back there, keep them nice and warm. So the flip is obviously always the most nerve-wracking part because you're dealing with, you know, oil and splashing and everything else. There's a couple different ways to do this. Once we think we're ready to flip, which I think we are, we just take a look underneath. Yeah, just about there, ready to flip. I'm gonna give it just another 30 seconds because you want them caramelized enough, obviously for beautiful for color, but that caramelization on the bottom and those starches and the binders are what kind of make it stick together and make a nice little crust. So you want to give it enough time to really form that crust and that nice crispy caramelization on the bottom, and that will also help with the flip. So because the heat is rising, if you can see, like, you know, oil is kind of coming through a little bit, which is perfect because that's what's helping cook all that. But that's also kind of, that warmth is really what's binding everything together because it's cooking the egg, the starch, everything together. So let's take a look. So what I like to do is I like to take a fork, whatever, and just give it a little turn like that. This way you're not splashing or anything like that. You're just kind of supporting The fish spatula is doing most of the work. You're just kind of allowing it to fall without falling. That's perfect color. It's exactly what you want. You got the nice crispness to it. Beautiful. Okay. Nice. They look good. So that first side, I don't know if I said a time before, that first side took about 3 to 4 minutes. And then probably another 2 to 3 minutes on the other side. Check. Yeah. Nice. About 30 more seconds, I think, will be good. They feel pretty perfect. Okay. Yeah, they feel good. Nice and crispy around and kind of creamy on the inside. That's what we're looking for. You see the bottom. Let's see if I can show you the bottom. See? Perfect. Perfect, perfect. We'll lay them here. Sweat. Okay. Nice. Now we move on to our next ones, but before we do that, if you have it, now you don't have to do this, but if you have one at home, I like to use this and just kind of like tilt it and just get the bits. This way it kind of stops it from having too many burnt bits in there, you know? And I just do that after each round, just to get the bits out. Okay? Look at that. Nice. Nice. Crispy. Let me see if you can hear this. Crispy outside. Creamy on the inside. I mean, so good. Really important to just monitor your heat. Alright? So the heat was catching up. Heat is always trying to get higher, right? Even at whatever temperature it is. Now, it'll have a plateau, but your plateau, it's funny, a lot of people don't realize the plateau isn't often reached. And it's always, the heat is always working to get to that plateau. So sometimes, you know, you put something in, it's dropped, and it's fighting back. But then it finally starts to really catch up, and you're not monitoring that heat. And that's where, you know, obviously you can start a fire, or you can, you know, just burn this crap out of something. So it's really important to really monitor that heat, because you don't want these to caramelize too quickly, because again, they'll be raw on the inside. So we just drop the heat down a little bit. Okay, now that we flipped it over, we're gonna bring the heat up just a little bit, right? Because now that cold side just got put in. So we're gonna put that heat up just a little bit. And you can hear it, like when you start, if you cook long enough, you can hear the way something is cooking and know if it's right or wrong, hot, cold, you know. And it's almost like once you raise the heat, you can see the bubbles start to pop more. You can almost hear the sizzle get faster, you know? And that's kind of, those are those cues that you're listening for as you're doing this, you know? Because you want to learn as you go, so that's super important. So there you have it. I mean, really beautiful, super tasty, crispy, creamy on the inside potato latkes. To me, I think this is the best way to make them. Best recipe. They come out awesome. You won't be sorry you did them. And, you know, you can cook and eat as you go. So there you have it, guys. That's how I roll with the latkes. If you like this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Ring the notification bell to see all the good stuff coming out in the future. Stay tuned, follow along, have fun, ask questions. I'm an open book. I'll answer anything you need. All right? I'm here for you guys. Peace.